How's it going, everyone? Today I just wanted to do a quick end of season in the bag going into winter. My bag will change a little bit in the winter, but this is sort of what I'm rolling with now in the fall. So first we're going to start with putters. So for putters, I have the Discmania Link. And this is their Evolution line, so it's made by Lat64. The Link has flight numbers 2301, but I find it really holds its stability well. It has a small to medium sized bead on the underside, and I've thrown this one since about March, and it is very beat up, but it still putts very stable, and it doesn't turn over when I throw it off the tee. So that's a really good sign in a putter. So the next putter I have is the Lumen Hard Link. This one came out a month or two ago, and it's a little bit, just a tiny bit more stable than the Exo Hards that I have. So that's really nice off the tee or in the wind. Lastly, for my links, I'm trying out the Exo Soft Link for winter. I feel like I will switch over to using more Exo Softs for putting just when it's cold out, because in my region, it's going to snow on Friday. So my bag's going to change a little bit. So those are my putters. Now for my approach discs, I have the Tactic mold. So the first one is a Primal Run Exo Soft Tactic. So this is pretty soft. I use this for approaches mainly, not really off the tee. This is the most stable of the tactics in my experience, and I'm trying to only use it for approaches that I need something really stable so it doesn't beat in super quickly. I can always just get a second one. I really do like this. It feels more comfortable in my hand than the Zone or the Harp or any of those other molds. So I've been riding with this for a while. And now for off the tee, I have in the same mold a couple of Razor Claws. So the first Razor Claw I have is a Broken Claw Razor Claw, so the first run from the end of last year. This one is very overstable compared to my second run here. So this one, it wants to hunt the ground the second it leaves your hand. So I'll throw it flat or on a hyzer. It'll hold the line and just go straight down into the ground. It isn't my farthest flying Razor Claw, but it's very consistent, and it honestly kicked the MD5 out of my bag. And then I have the second run here. This is my last Ace disc. I've thrown this since it released, and it is flat and then fade at the end. It's not, I wouldn't say it has turn, but it's definitely straighter than my Broken Claw first run. And lastly, for approach discs, I don't use these very often, but I can't be caught dead without them. So I have a couple Castoplast Bergs. So I have a K2 Berg here. So this plastic is very soft. So what I use this for is approaches that need to get down and stick. The flight numbers on these are 1102, and I think that's very accurate. This thing doesn't want to glide at all. So I throw it, and it'll ride straight, and it fades, but it fades sort of, instead of straight left, it fades sort of diagonal, so it just pushes down to the ground. I like to call it my little bumblebee, just because it goes down and hits the ground. And then the last one I have is a K3 Berg that I use for very short approaches that need to just stick. This disc is a little more understable than the K2, but it doesn't turn over, and it just holds any line I put it on, and it doesn't go very far, and it sticks. So those are my approach discs. Let's go to mid-ranges. So I only carry 3 mid-ranges in the bag right now. So the first one I have is an Origin, and this is an understable mid-range from Discmania. I've only had this for a week and a half or so, but I really like it. It was a missing sort of spot in my bag where I can throw it on a hyzer, it'll flip and ride to the right, and then maybe fade back if I don't throw it flat or anhyzer. And it is an easy distance disc. I parked a 290-foot hole on a very light throw, and it just flipped, rode, and it has a ton of glide. Then it just sat down by the basket. All right, the next one is my straight mid-range, and it's the Castoplast Jutta, and this is a 2019 Glow version. And this disc, throw it straight, it'll go straight. If you throw it on a hyzer, it'll go on a hyzer. If you anhyzer, it'll hold the anhyzer. So it just wants to do what you want to do. The problem with that is you have to do it right or this disc isn't going to help you out. Where the Origin can help me out if I too much hyzer, a little nose up, it'll still turn. This disc I have to be accurate with. And then my last mid-range is a Fusion Burst EMAC Truth from Dynamic Discs. If I throw it on a hyzer, flips to flat, goes straight, and then fades a decent amount. It's the most stable of my mid-ranges, but I don't really have a need for a super overstable mid just because I have the Razor Claws. And if I need something that's faster than the Razor Claws, I just go to a fairway driver. All right, next let's talk about my 7-speeds. So I bag 4 7-speeds, and they are all Discmania FD mold. So the first one is a 167 gram D-line FD. This thing is very flippy. So I can throw it on a hyzer and nose up and it'll still turn all the way over. And it's a good roller disc too, but this is sort of a great disc if I have bad footing in the fairway or on the edge of a fairway and I can't do a run up. I can just do a standstill and it'll still get lots of distance because it's so understable. The next one I have is also new to the bag, but it's the Nate Perkins Nightstrike 3 FD. And I really like how straight this disc is. I can throw it controlled and straight and it'll just go straight, then maybe fade a little bit at the end, or it'll hold a hyzer, or it'll go anhyzer and land flat. So it's a really controllable disc. All right, the next is a Nightstrike 2 from Nate Perkins. So it's the Color Glow FD from last year. And this one is 175 grams. This one, if I throw it flat, and fade. So it's pretty glidey. It's more overstable than the Nightstrike 3 for sure. So I throw it mainly for similar shots that I would throw the Nightstrike 3 in a headwind. Or if I need something to go a little bit more to the left on my backhand, but still go a long way. And my last 7-speed is a first run FD2. And this disc is, I would call it overstable, where it wants to go to the left and it doesn't go as far as my other FDs, but it's super consistent. So that's why I always have one of these in the bag. It's a great forehand disc. It's very flat. So I use this quite a bit. All right, let's move on to my 8 and 9 speeds. So my next disc is the Discmania Essence, and this is an 8-speed, glidey, understable fairway driver. So this is a longer D-line FD for me, realistically. So I can throw it on a hyzer, it'll flip to flat. I can throw it on a tiny hyzer or flat, and it'll go all the way over. Or if I throw it on an anhyzer, it'll turn and burn or roll. And it's very easy distance, sort of like the Origin in my mid-range collection. So I use this a lot, especially in tailwinds, because in a headwind it would just flip over. All right, the next disc I have is the Roaming Thunder 2. So that is a CD2 Dana Vici Swirly S-Line. And I've had this one in the bag for about 6 months. This one's pretty beat in, so it's very straight. I would consider it a longer flight of the Nightstrike 3. So it goes straight and then fades a little bit. All right, the next one, and this is a little bit more of an overstable complement to my Roaming Thunder 2, is the Roaming Thunder 1. So from the year before. This one has more dome to it, and it's more stable. So I threw this in a headwind last week, and it has the same flight as this, the Roaming Thunder 2, in a headwind. So it's just one notch up in stability, which is very helpful. And the last of my fairway drivers is the Castoplast Stall. So this is an overstable 9-speed. So it's sort of like your Firebirds or your Felons or any of those, Raptor. But this one, I just love the plastic on it, and I've thrown it for almost a year and it hasn't changed at all. K1 plastic doesn't really beat in. So it's just my trusty disc. I know I can throw this forehand, I know I can throw it backhand, and it'll do the same thing every time regardless of the wind. All right, let's move to my distance drivers. So first, I have a Westside King. So this is an understable high-speed driver. So I can throw this on a hyzer, and it'll flip to flat and fade. I can throw it straight, and it'll turn and come back. Or I can throw it on a little bit of an anhyzer, and it'll turn into a roller. All right, so next I have 2 Discmania Enigmas. So the first is the Vapor Enigma. and this is with the boop-de-boop stamp. This disc goes a long way. I'd call it stable. I wouldn't call it overstable or understable. It has some turn, but it always comes back unless it's a super stiff headwind. All right, and next I have a Primal Run Enigma. This is just a tick more stable than the Vapor. So I'll throw this if it's windy and I want a similar flight as this, or if I want something to hold a hyzer and just go straight and hit that line in the woods. It's great for like a dog leg left. If you just throw on a tiny bit of hyzer, keep that nose down, it'll just fade consistently. All right, and the last disc I have in my bag, I don't use that often, but I can't be caught dead without it because I might need it. It's the Infinite Discs Concrete Slab. So this disc is very similar to an Innova Max, and it is very flat, very overstable. Just look at that parting line. It's very high. And the plastic feels wonderful. It's metal flake and it's also luster. So it's very grippy and very pretty. So I will use this for very, very stiff headwinds if I just want something to not turn over, and this will not. This is also a good forehand disc because of how flat it is. It feels really nice in the hand. What I use this for a lot of the time is in the woods. If I need to get around a tree and sort of finish the other way. So I can throw this on a very steep anhyzer and it'll work itself out, which is very cool. This thing is very overstable. All right, that is my in the bag. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.